Well, hiya, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. I wanted to come to you this morning with a tag. After all, it is Tag Tuesday, so the tag that I chose to do was the last 10 books tag. And this one's been going around on BookTube, and I've had it printed out with some answers for a few days, and just now getting around to it. But anyway, I saw this on Steve Donahue's channel and also on Mark Nash. Mark Nash was the creator of it, and pretty creative tag, and so should be a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is, again, the last 10 books tag. So the first question on the tag is, number one is the last book you didn't finish. And so, I tend to, from time to time, and as I listen to everybody else on BookTube, I know I'm not the only one that does this, but, you get a book started and you get a third of the way, halfway through, and then something comes up in life, or the book is not going at the pace that you want, and you just put the book down. Or you just DNF the thing because you just didn't like it. Well, I don't tend to DNF books very often, and very rarely do I do that. And even when I DNF them, I keep them on the shelf, and I end up coming back to try to finish them. I try to give them a second chance down the line. Primary example, this was Tales of the South Pacific that I talked about earlier this year, and I'm really glad I came back and finished it. And so, I tend to realize that sometimes just the mood or the emotions that I'm in at that time sometimes play a role in how I enjoy or don't enjoy a book. And so right at the moment, the two books that I have for this, the last book you didn't finish, are American Caesar, Douglas MacArthur, 1880 to 1964 by William Manchester. And it's a great book, but I've had buddy reads come up. I've had emotional changes, if you will, happen, and I just haven't got the book done. I'm sitting, probably, a third of the way or so through the book, quarter of the way, third of the way, something like that. And it's really good. It's interesting. I just haven't finished it, but it will be finished in the coming months as I get time to do this. I will attack this again. It is on my list. And then the other one that I started, and when did I start this? This was before Christmas, I think I started it, and it was really good. And then, like I said, I got buddy reads going. I had some other plans for the previous months that kind of took precedence, and so I did not finish The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. And so I am not real far in it, but I was enjoying it. I just didn't get back to it. So I was 63 pages, 62 pages in. Like I said, I just didn't get back to it, but I do plan to get back to it. But those are the last two books that I did not finish. So question number two, the last book that you reread. So this is pretty easy for me because it's the last one I just finished, was The Bastard by John Jakes. And this book is like one of my all-time favorite books. I have reread this book I don't know how many times. I seriously don't know. I would love to know exactly how many times I've reread it. It's been over and over again since the very first time. And, it's been 20 years ago or so when I, maybe 22 years ago when I first read that book and just fell in love with it. And so I reread that in a buddy read with Scott over at the Bookish Bryants and thoroughly enjoyed it again. And I know that in the future I will pick that up for a reread. Another one that I recently reread was Sycamore Row by John Jakes, because I had this is in the Jake Bridges series. Sorry, went blank on his name. This is one of the Jake Bridges novels. He's the main lawyer in the book, and I was asked to do a review on all three books in the Jake Bridges series, and so I reread that one as well and enjoyed it again. And I've probably reread that. It's probably the third time I've read it, maybe fourth time I've read it. But I always enjoy my John Grisham books, and so that was another one that I had reread recently, and did a review on that. And by the way, I plan on doing a review on The Bastards soon, so be ready for that. All right, so question number 3, the last book that you bought. So in the last book haul that I had, so not mail haul, but book haul, so this would have been a couple weeks ago, we had went to, my daughter and I, this would have been February 13th because it was the day before Valentine's Day, and we went to St. Joe and visited Books Revisited, and we just had some fun shopping. Just needed to get out, and so we were out and about. And then on the way home, we stopped at the Dollar Tree, and of course, Dollar Tree every once in a while, it's kind of hit and miss, but every once in a while they've got, of course, everything's $1, but they'll put nonfiction in there. Basically overstock books, I believe, and I found for $1 Nathaniel Philbrick's Valiant Ambition, George Washington, Benedict Arnold, and the Fate of the American Revolution for only $1, hardback. And so I bought that. That's going to be a replacement copy for my paperback upstairs. And then I also bought Michael Crichton's Dragon Teeth. So this will be a good read, I hope it'll be a good read. I have not read it yet. I love Michael Crichton, so hoping that that's going to be a real good one. Not a very long novel, but those are the last 2 books that I bought, and I can't do the last book I bought because I bought these at the exact same time, exact same store. But those are the last ones that I bought. So, number 4, the last book you said you read but didn't. Okay, so I was struggling with this because I was trying to find an answer because I don't tell people that I have read them and I haven't read them. I don't lie about that. I mean, if I haven't read it, I haven't read it. But I do know that I had some confusion on some Stephen Ambrose books because there are some of them that I read and then did not check them off of my big book list that I have, and later on I've come back to that and I'm like, haven't I read that? And I get confused on what I have read. And then I think there might even be some in the pile that I may have accidentally checked, but I don't remember reading it. And so they're going to be due for either a first time read or a reread because I can't remember reading it. But it was some World War II books by Stephen Ambrose. And so what was the particular title? Trying to think. It was D-Day stuff. And so I've got to go back and revisit that. That's probably the book that I said I've read, but possibly have not. And that's out of pure confusion, not trying to lie to somebody. So number 5, the last book you wrote in the margins of. So I do not tend to do that at all. My books here at home, I do not write in the margins. I will write on the inside cover, and I'll put my name on there every once in a while. And I do that with my books at school, because if I don't do that with the books at school, they will not return to my classroom. But I don't write in the margins. I don't tend to do that. I'm not going to say I've never done it. The last time that I was thinking that I've done it was in my own personal Bible. Sometimes I'll write notes in the margins on how certain passages are hitting me at that point and what I am interpreting or getting out of it. And then I also I have a working copy at school of Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave, that we read in my 8th grade American history class. And we do that when we're looking at slavery and then getting ready to head into the Civil War, and when we're looking at the evils of slavery. And there are a couple places in that book, in my teacher copy, where I've wrote in the margins on certain points of emphasis that I want to stress with the kids. And that would probably be the last book that I wrote in the margins of. And I did that, I did that last year during the spring when we were going through that, during March or April, right in there when we were going through that. So question number 6. The last book you had signed. So I do not go to author readings or author signings because we just, in the area that I'm in, we don't have very much of that. And then it seems like every time we do, the few times that we do, I always have something going. And so I have not been able to do that. But a couple years ago, my wife, she follows this gal on Instagram. She does cookbooks, and her name's Brittany Williams, and she's got a couple 3 books out. And my wife went. She asked me to go along with her, and we went one night to a book signing, and the gal did some reading from her book and told some of her story on why she created the cookbook and everything. And so we had Brittany Williams sign her cookbook, and that was kind of cool. Personalized it, and we got her picture with her and stuff. So, number 7, the last book you lost. Okay, so this one's pretty easy because I have been trying to find this book the last 3 weeks. My daughter wants to read Catcher in the Rye. I know I have a copy of this somewhere. It is a paperback. It is a red cover. It's a deep red color, maybe a crimson almost, or maroon to crimson color. It's a deep red, and it's just it says Catcher in the Rye. That's it. There's no pictures or anything like that. It's a very, very basic copy. I know exactly what it looks like. I cannot find it for the life of me, and I want to find it because my daughter wants to read it. And pretty soon, my daughter's a senior. She's going to be going off to college, and we're not going to have that opportunity. And I was kind of thinking that I've never read the book. I bought it with the intention of reading it, but I haven't got to it. And I thought that would be an excellent buddy read with my daughter. But I can't find the book, and it's driving me insane. So that's the last book that I lost. Number 8, the last book you had to replace. Says had to replace. Now, I didn't have to, but I'm going to pull up Nathaniel Philbrick. This is the last one that I have replaced, that I bought a book to replace for my paperback upstairs. And the paperback's in good condition. It's just I found a hardback for only $1, so why not? Also, in the recent mail haul that I had, Todd from Todd's Bursting Bookcase sent me a copy of My Life on the Plains by George Custer, and it's his memoirs. And I have a copy of that upstairs, and it's a little bit beat up. And the copy he sent me, the double that he sent me, is in much, much better shape. So I am going to replace that one. So we could probably put that in this question, put that answer in there. Number 9, the last book you had an argument over. I haven't had a lot of arguments. I've had discussions, but I haven't had just out and out arguments about them. The last one that was the most detailed discussion was probably when I did the group read for the Bully Pulpit last year. Was it spring we did that? I can't even remember. Last spring, maybe it was summer. But anyway, we were reading the Bully Pulpit, and that was quite the discussion, listening to everybody get going and the answers that were thrown around, and just the different things they were picking up on in the book. And they were talking about American imperialism and the idea of American exceptionalism and colonialism, and just all kinds of things were coming up in that book discussion over the Bully Pulpit with Theodore Roosevelt, and then just some of his treatments of Taft and yeah. Anyway, that was probably the most, I don't want to call it heated. It wasn't heated, but the most detailed discussion, deep discussion. And then number 10, last question. The last book you couldn't get a hold of. Okay, this one's easy because I have been just eating these books up. Philip Craig's Martha's Vineyard Mysteries. And I've been eating these up as fast as I can get them. I've been reading them. And I've got a new one going right now, Vineyard Fear. And got going on that last night. Didn't get real far, but got a couple chapters read. Hard to read when you got a 3-year-old trying to get you to play. But anyway, I wanted to read the very first book in the series, and when I went to the library and asked her about getting that, she looked it up, and for her to pick up the very first one, she found it was like $40, and I was like, don't buy it for $40 for the public library. That's silly. And so I really wanted #1 in the series, but it was too expensive, so I didn't get it. Or she didn't get it, rather. So I couldn't get a hold of that one. So anyway, that is the last 10 books tag. Again, that was created by Mark Nash over at his channel, and I'll leave a link to his video down below. And I saw it on Steve Donahue, and there's been a bunch of other ones. I think Steve was the first one I saw it on. So I'll leave a link to his video as well. This is a fun tag, pretty easy to do. I recommend anybody out there who hasn't done it to go ahead and do that. Consider yourself tagged. And I'm not going to tag individuals just because so many people have done it, because I don't have time to go through everybody's, to see if they've done it or not. But anyway, consider yourself tagged. This was a fun one. So BookTube, I hope you enjoyed this. Consider going and doing this if you haven't. Thank you for watching. And as always, happy reading.